So, you're thinking about taking your business global. It's a huge step, and you've probably figured out that the biggest hurdle isn't just about having a great product, it's about navigating this huge sea of information to find the right path. Well, that's what we're here for. We're going to dive into the world of export information and give you a clear map to follow.
Yeah, it's a feeling a lot of people have. You're ready for that next level of growth, but it's like you're staring at this mountain of data, and it's tough to figure out what actually matters. Where do you even begin? That is exactly what we're going to break down in this explainer.
Okay, so before you even think about opening a single spreadsheet, you gotta know this. Your entire export journey boils down to answering three fundamental questions. What product should you export? Where's the best market for it? And how are you gonna market it successfully? Super simple, right? But so powerful, absolutely essential. All right, so to help you get those answers, here's a quick look at our roadmap. We'll start with the basics of charting your course, then we'll get into the two main types of intelligence you'll need. After that, we'll walk through building a detailed market profile, and finally, we'll reveal the key sources where you can find all this amazing data. Okay, let's start with that foundation. Look, every single piece of data you collect, its only job is to help you answer those three big questions: what, where, and how. This is the strategic thinking that has to happen before you get lost in the details. Now, when you actually start digging for that data, it is so easy to get overwhelmed. But here's the trick. Organize your entire search into two clear categories: product intelligence and market intelligence. I like to think of it like looking through two different lenses. On one side, you've got product-related information. This is where you're looking inward, at your own goods, at export trends from India, and any rules that might affect your product. And then you flip the switch to market-related information. Now you're looking outward at the rest of the world to find and screen potential countries. So what does that actually mean? What does product intelligence look like in the real world? Well, it starts right here at home, looking at your product's export trends over the last few years to really understand demand. And this is huge. It's about spotting the deal breakers early on. Are there any rules that ban your product from leaving India or from entering your target market? Now, for market intelligence, think of yourself as a scout. You're basically doing reconnaissance. You're scanning the entire globe to see which countries are already buying your product, you're checking out the local competition, and you're digging into all the rules, the tariffs, the regulations, all the stuff that could make or break your business there. This whole process, that's how you build your first shortlist of potential markets. Okay, so once you've done that initial screening and you've narrowed your list down to just a few promising countries, now it's time to go deep. This is where the real work begins, turning that simple list into a solid, actionable strategy. So for every single country that made your shortlist, you're going to build a really detailed market profile. And listen, this isn't just about collecting random facts. It's about painting a complete picture of the business environment there, a picture that's going to directly shape your marketing plan and your entry strategy. All right, first up, the numbers. You've got to understand the economic health of that market. Things like per capita income tell you about the buying power of your future customers. And foreign exchange reserves and investment trends, they give you a sense of the country's stability. This is the hard data, the stuff that tells you if a market is actually viable or just a pipe dream. Okay, next, you got to get your boots on the ground. Well, figuratively speaking, of course. Who are you really up against? What are they good at? And maybe most importantly, how does business actually work there? Understanding the distribution channels and what local customers like is vital. Getting this right, this is what stops you from making those really expensive cultural or business mistakes.
And finally, let's zoom out and look at the big picture, the macro environment. How stable is the political situation? That can have a direct impact on trade. And hey, don't ever underestimate the physical factors. The climate could affect your product, and the geography could totally change your logistics and distribution costs.
Okay, so we know what information we need and we know why we need it. The million-dollar question is still, where do you actually find all this stuff? Well, let's unlock that data vault.
The good news is we can break down all the sources into two main buckets to make it way easier to handle. First, you've got published data. Think reports, stats, stuff you can read. And then you've got institutional sources. These are the actual organizations you can talk to for expert help. And you can get really specific with this stuff. Government publications, for instance, they'll give you the raw numbers on where products are going and for how much. For deeper analysis, research institutes publish these incredible market surveys. And what if you have a product that's not a big export from India yet? Well, that's where things like UN publications come in. They can show you a hidden global demand you never knew existed.
And the best part? You're not alone in this. These institutions are basically your allies. You've got FEO, the Federation of Indian Export Organizations. Think of them as your central command. Then you have the product-specific experts in the Export Promotion Councils. And for intel straight from your target market, the foreign embassies right here in India are an incredible resource.
So let's talk about FEO for a second, because its role is so crucial. It's basically the big umbrella organization. If you have an issue that affects all exporters, or maybe your product doesn't have its own specific council, FEO is your go-to. They're the ones who coordinate everything and really represent the interests of the entire exporting community.
But what if you're exporting something specific, like apparel or leather or even coffee? That's when you'll want to connect with an export promotion council or a commodity board. These guys are the specialists. They are laser-focused on their sectors, they have deep market intel, they help with government schemes, and they actively promote their members' products overseas. They are your industry experts for sure.
And of course, none of this matters if you can't get in touch with the right people. So sources like official directories are absolutely critical for finding contacts at places like foreign embassies. But let me give you a piece of very practical advice. Contact info changes all the time. So while these institutions are always going to be vital, make sure you're using the latest, most current official directories so your emails and calls actually get to the right person. You know, when you boil it all down, that's really what this is about. Being successful in exporting isn't about some secret formula no one told you about. It's about knowing which questions to ask, knowing where to find the answers, and then knowing how to turn all that information into a smart, strategic plan. The information is out there. It's totally accessible.
So with a framework like this, that path to going global, it's not some big mystery anymore. It's a map, and the tools to chart your own course are right here. So the only question left for you is, what's your first destination going to be?